Good afternoon and welcome to the Bob Benson Show with my co-host Paul Slade.
Hello.
Also known as Buster DeSoto.
DeSoto, yes.
Are we going to keep the door open? Are you too hot, Jay?
It's warm, but whatever.
We have a third person in the studio. Today he's filming us for YouTube, and we're going to become rich and famous as soon as he edits the tape and uploads it. So,
Hello, everyone. I just closed the door, and this is part of the drama of live radio, at least FCC live radio, on the FCC.com network. We are here
down in the bowels of south of Market
the proverbial
Street.
vortex. We're here
A bunker.
The bunker, and on Wednesday, on July 21st, Wednesday.
Today is July 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd, Wednesday, in the south of Market, on 5th Street.
I do want to promo our call-in guest.
Who is that, please, Bob?
Maraya Karena.
Maraya Karena.
Will be calling in from Portland, Oregon.
Aha! Keep Portland weird.
And she is a cyborg anthropologist.
Cyborg anthropologist. So what does that mean, Bob? Do you know yet?
We are going to ask her what that means.
A cyborg anthropologist.
Yes.
Does this have anything to do with... Well, we don't know. We'll have to ask her if it has anything to do with Star Trek.
I don't think so. But anyway, until she calls in, we're going to start with stupid stuff, I guess.
This is our favorite... I think this might be our favorite segment. Don't you think so, Bob? Stupid stuff?
Well, it's everyone's favorite segment.
And by the way, folks...
Well, that applause was so languid and
it's deafening.
Wow, no, I mean, usually it's like it got weak or something.
By the way, speaking of applause, do we have the groupies out in front today again?
Only for you, Paul.
The phone is ringing.
We have a phone call.
Maybe better answer it and see who it is, Bob.
Hello, is this Maraya? Hello?
Hello, is this Benson?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Okay, this is Robert Medeiros, Mr. Medeiros.
Hey, Mr. Medeiros, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're expecting a call-in guest any moment right now.
Okay, all right, I'll call you back again. All right?
Yeah, after 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
And who is Robert Medeiros, someone asked?
That almost sounded like Robert. That's Radio Cafeteria Bob's dad, I think, maybe.
Yes, indeed it is.
I think either that or
he listens. He's a big fan of ours.
Yeah, I know.
We have acolytes everywhere, Bob.
I know.
Here's the phone ringing, Bob. Maybe better find out who it is. Good God, this is...
Hello, is this
exciting.
Maraya?
This is, yes. Hello.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Maraya.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Welcome to FCC Free Radio. My co-host's name is Paul Slade.
Hello, Maraya.
Also
Paul,
known
hi,
as
Paul.
Hello.
Buster DeSoto.
That's my other name, yes.
And he would like to know, you're calling in from Portland, Oregon, right?
I am, Portland, Oregon.
Oh, this is a good connection.
Keep Portland weird, right?
Hey, nothing's as weird as San
Northeast
Francisco.
Portland.
Oh, Northeast Portland. What does that mean?
Portland is divided into 4 quadrants, so I live in one of them.
And what does it mean to live in Northeast Portland?
Well, for half the year it means that it's raining. And for the other half of the year it means that it's a glorious wonderland of a temperate rainforest with tons of people making their own kombucha and riding around on bicycles and, generally living it up.
Does it rain in the other quadrants?
There is. There are rain in all 4 quadrants.
Definitely sounds like Oregon.
If I may ask, how far are you from Beaverton?
I'm about probably 45 minutes by car.
I have a good buddy who lives in Beaverton. I know some people up there in the Northwest, and I like Portland, but it is weird. But it's a good weird.
It's a very good weird.
A lot of plaid shirts. A lot of plaid shirts up there.
There is, yeah. People like their flannel.
Yeah.
What's that sound? Oh, it stopped now.
Sound like a beaver.
Some
Maybe
sort of
it's the
scraping.
mascot of Beaverton.
There was a scraping sound. I don't know what that was. But anyway, I talked to you a few years ago, and you're a cyborg anthropologist. You want to explain to our audience what that is?
Sure. Yeah. So, cyborg is a word that a lot of people think means robots and
Star Trek
spaceships and things like that. But it actually means the interface between what is organic and what is technological.
Wow.
So anywhere where technology and what we normally think of as nature meet is a cyborgian interface.
Whoa.
So cyborg anthropology studies the relationship between humans and technology. And I would say that part of the whole purpose of studying the relationship of humans and technology is to realize that technology is in fact part of nature, and that we exist, all of us together. That just like humans are part of nature and technology is part of humans, all of us are something that the planet is doing. And all of us work together to form the landscape of what actually exists in reality and all that is.
So you're saying nature is maybe zeros and ones in a binary code? One way or another?
I'm saying an aspect of nature is binary code.
Okay.
Hey,
Just like an aspect of nature is fractals and language and
Maraya, is there someone scraping paper or something around you? There's a sound effect that's coming in.
Oh, is there a sound? Here, I will go somewhere where there can be less sound.
Well, it's not bothering me, and Bob is the host, so he's cross about it.
Sure.
Maybe there was some newspaper around or something.
Was it bothering you, Bob?
Well, it just doesn't sound good. You know,
okay.
she sounds great.
Well, it sounds real.
But did you not hear that?
Yes, I did, but it didn't
bother
bother me. Maybe I'm just too easygoing.
Yes, you're a fun mudgeon.
I am a fun mudgeon.
Hey, Maraya.
Yeah.
What is that sound?
Oh, for crying out loud. You just can't...
I'm not sure. Are you still hearing that sound?
Well, I just heard some voices now.
I live in a big community house with a bunch of people, so I'll go somewhere extra special quiet.
I think, Bob, what you're hearing is the interface between technology and nature. That's what you're hearing.
It's a very cyborgian moment happening right now.
Indeed.
It's like when I bought the single of the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I wondered what that sound was. I didn't realize it was Ringo playing the drums using that...
the brush.
The brush, right.
Bob, are you the guy that got kicked out of the meme show for laughing out loud?
What is the meme show?
Pantomime.
The meme show is a meme?
Bob said he got kicked out of a meme show for laughing out loud.
Paul just made that up. But
okay, now we've assuaged Bob's consternation because of not indirect sounds. Maybe we could continue, Maraya.
Maraya, I wanted to ask you. So, what do you do with this knowledge and being a cyborg anthropologist?
One of the main things that I do is, for me, embracing cyborg anthropology was also part of overcoming all of my own fear and anger and sense of powerlessness about my own relationship to technology.
Well, you originally were a Luddite, right?
I was indeed. I had a typewriter. I wrote an article called "Technology Makes You Stupid." I was big against digital photography. I thought Facebook was ruining things.
I saw a cartoon with 15 people staring down at their iPhone, and the caption was, "Smartphones make people stupid."
Totally. My brother had a baby, and me and my parents and my in-laws were all in the waiting room, and I took a picture with all of us in the waiting room, while my sister-in-law is giving birth to her baby, and everyone was just on their phone. It's like modern waiting room.
I saw another cartoon where the baby came out holding a cell phone.
I saw a really sad cartoon with a woman who was giving birth while texting.
That probably literally did happen. Maraya, now, if I may, it sounds like you might be under 50.
I am.
Okay.
Paul only goes out with women who remember black and white
That's
TV.
right, because I'm 65, and 65 is the new 64. However, what I'd like to ask you, Maraya, you ostracized yourself from your contemporaries, didn't you, by being a Luddite?
I also found a lot of community talk around being a Luddite.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that,
even in
please?
younger generations, everyone's ready to jump on the bandwagon of bad-mouthing technology one way or another, especially when so much of the power is held in military, R&D, and consumerism.
Well, yeah.
What? Excuse me, Paul. What made you switch from being a Luddite to a cyborg anthropologist embracing technology?
For me, it was this. It was really facing the fear. It was really facing all of my judgments and anger and victim feelings about technology. Of like, it's this runaway train and going nonstop, and I can't do anything, and nobody writes letters anymore. It was actually like facing that to realize that.
Did a TV fall on you when you were a kid, or what happened?
Didn't it fall on all of us?
Someone tried to strangle
but I
you
think
with a
that
phone
was the
cord?
point, right? It's like we think that technology happens to us when, in fact, we're responsible for our relationship to technology. There are people who are making televisions. There are people who are making television shows. There are people who are working in advertising. And then there's all of us who have TVs or computers and get to decide what kind of relationship we want with it.
Yes,
and I think the main thing that happened is me being, identifying as a visionary and being someone who has an idea of what a more beautiful, life-sustaining world would look like. It was just realizing that technology is an active part of that. And that actually technology does so many beautiful things. Like we get to talk on the phone and we get to share information and we get to record our music and we get to invite people to our concerts and we get to do all sorts of things because of technology.
Did you have an aha
reclaim
moment?
This fundamental relationship, then we can actually sculpt the world that we all know in our hearts is possible.
Did you have an aha moment making you change from Luddite to cyborg anthropology?
I think I had this moment where all of a sudden it was like I put on the lens of cyborg anthropology and I looked around and I realized that everything that was happening, whether I called it good or bad, was happening in a fundamental interwoven relationship to technology.
Maraya, do you think...
But there was no separating out what was human and what was culture and what was anything.
That's certainly a revolutionary idea, Maraya, because I think many of us think of technology as a tool. That's certainly the way I think of it, and I think one can be cynical about technology, at least the negative impacts of technology, and not be a Luddite.
Absolutely, yeah.
I
think that's important. Like, keep your eyes open, right?
Indeed.
Like, I'm not about embracing technology full on. I'm about seeing what you think is positive, what you think is detracting, and actively engaging from a place of responsibility.
Hey, Maraya, are you the one and only cyborg anthropologist, or are there other cyborg anthropologists?
I'm not. There's actually an entire field dedicated to cyborg anthropology.
Where can you study this?
Well, you can study it at Lewis and Clark College, where I went to school.
And
you
that's
can
in
also,
Oregon?
there's this woman, Donna Haraway, out of the University of Santa Cruz, who teaches the History of Consciousness program. There's something at MIT, or not at MIT, at NYU that just started that has something very, very similar to cyborg anthropology.
But did you major in that at Lewis and Clark?
I majored in anthropology and sociology, and I specialized in cyborg anthropology with my mentor, the fabulous Deborah Heath.
Where is Lewis and Clark? It sounds like it's in Oregon.
It is.
It's in Portland.
Oh,
yeah.
it's right in Portland. Oh, I did not know that.
As is Portland State. Anyway, also, Maraya, did you ever see the movie 2001 Space Odyssey?
I did.
I thought it was quite prophetic in many ways.
I would certainly agree.
About the possible negative aspects. I was wondering if Google, when they have developing their self-driving car, if they're going to name the operating system HAL, after the after the wayward computer in 2001: Space Odyssey. I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with technology in any way because it's a tool. That's why I look at it. And you've expanded at it to more of an integral approach to it. I am very much not afraid, but very apprehensive about the moguls in technology who really do have kind of an attitude that they have the keys to the kingdom of consciousness, and we have to go along with them. Am I being paranoid? Did you pick that up through some of the leaders in the technology field?
I totally picked that up. And what I would go as far as to say is that technology is us. So just like everything is a mirror, the medical industry, the food industry, so is technology.
Well put, yes.
And so
indeed.
you can be afraid of technology as much as you're afraid of human nature itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're seeing with all of these moguls is some of the shadow aspects that are in our own consciousness.
That's a very interesting way to put it. Yeah, they deny any potentiality, human potential, don't they? It's actually superfluous in their minds, I would think.
Or almost like the body is superfluous in their mind. You have people like Ray Kurzweil who wants to upload himself into a computer.
Yeah, I remember this old commercial where this guy is the head of this man is in a box and he's talking, and it's supposed to be like we don't want this kind of a future because there's only a head in the box, and they walk away with the box, and you say, wait, where are you going?
You know, Maraya, sometimes there's joy in failure, if you know what I mean.
There is. Sometimes you just got to laugh at it.
Yes, but I mean, part of the feeling of success is the experimentation and trying to get the project done the right way and failing and redoing it and learning from all that. I think computers or technology kind of wants us to skip a lot of the steps that actually we can learn from those steps. Does that make sense?
What steps do you think we're skipping?
Well, I just threw this thing out. Like the driverless car. I mean, how are you ever going to learn to drive without the computer if the computer does everything for you? You're never going to be able to operate when a computer doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem now. That's why companies have IT people, because if the computers crash, then you're up shit creek.
Well, not if there's a microchip in your paddle.
So microchip in your what?
Microchip in your paddle when you're up the creek.
Oh, right.
Okay,
right.
Paul also does stand up, and I have also in the past. But anyway, hey, I wanted to ask you about you're interested in something else now called permaculture?
Yeah, and that's actually where my interest in cyborg anthropology took me. Permaculture is this field that's continually developing about how to best use tools and resources in synergy with the natural environment.
Oh, okay. So putting cyborg anthropology to work.
Exactly. And I'm struck again and again about how many tools we actually have, about how really we have so many things that want to be of assistance, and so many people developing things to address all of the great issues that are facing the planet right now.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and just permaculture is one of the fields that's really advancing that, and really taking sort of the time and observational effort to apply tools and knowledge well.
What is okay? I'm very curious about your last statement here. What would be, if one was going to do a paper, in your mind or literally, what would be the purpose? What would be the denominator? What would be the actual reason for studying? What would be the goal?
Of studying permaculture?
Yeah, I mean, if one was going to do a project, let's say a paper, a seminar, what would be the last statement made at the end of the 2-day seminar? You know what I mean?
Or what would the theme
Sure.
be?
The theme, yeah.
It would be that permaculture is an exploration in how to develop sustainable ways of living.
Yeah.
So you think like you have like a house, right? So one of the things in permaculture is you want to take everything that's an input and use it to the utmost of its potential, and take everything that's an output and use that to the utmost of its potential. So you think of something like water, right? Like water falls from the sky. So you could do things like rain catchment barrels, and then you could use that rain. And then you think you have, your sink and water goes down the drain. That's an output. And so you can actually use it. So there's something called gray water, which is water you wash your dishes with, and you can actually clean that water with plants. Plants actually drink all of the things that make that water non-potable to us. And then there's even something called black water, which is water you flush your toilet with, and you can actually use a longer process of cleaning it with plants to make that water usable again, to do something like water your garden.
Hey, Maraya.
So everything that's an input you can use in so many more ways than we thought, and there's so many more inputs than we normally think of. Mm-hmm. And then everything that's an output can also be plugged back into the system. And you can do that with everything in your living environment to create an entirely self-sustaining cycle.
Hey, Maraya, you have a lot of videos on the internet and a website. You want to promote that?
Sure. I make videos. It's called the Maraya Karena Show. It used to be called the Cybering Anthropology Podcast, but I realized that what I wanted to talk about was a lot beyond that, too. Sort of thinking about what it means to be a human alive right now. So sometimes it's about, like, esoteric things. Sometimes it's, like, really personal, kind of just, like, my own process about things. It's the Maraya Karena Show. It's whatever's going on in my mind at the moment.
A few years ago when I met you, you seemed kind of quiet and demure, but you're very dynamic in your videos. Did you have an epiphany or something?
I started making videos because before I was writing a lot, and I was having trouble with writer's block. And I was like, geez, I can just say it, so why don't I just say it? And so I started filming myself. And I'll tell you, there's been nothing more, I guess, confronting than watching myself on film. And when I was first making videos, I'd watch these videos and I'd be like, who is that person? And so now one of my main hopes, my own like personal growth hope with the Maraya Karena Show is just to actually be able to see myself on film and be like, yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Well, I think you do a great job. Yeah, you're very charismatic on video.
Well, I think, and you're very well spoken. One night, talking on the Bob Benson Show. The next night, we'll see you on Nova.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maraya, now, would you say that the most powerful mainframe in the world is an individual's brain? Would you say that's true?
I would.
Also, you were talking about water, which is obviously the essence of life, and you don't have to go any further than the golden state of California, sometimes tarnished with our drought, which seems severe. And if we were just been much more conscious of our relation to the environment in always, and especially the way you're talking, I think we wouldn't have to worry about the drought as much as we have.
Totally. And it's, one of the most powerful mainframes is an individual's brain, and
indeed.
Another very powerful mainframe is the collective brain.
Indeed.
And one thing about all this global warming stuff is they try to individualize everything and say, hey, you should use less water. You should use this kind of light bulb, which is all awesome things to do. But, for example, in California, 80% of the water is used by agriculture.
Absolutely.
So even if all of us cut our water consumption by 50%, which would be huge, that would just be 10% of the water used in the state if we don't address it on a systematic level.
Hey, Maraya, excuse me, Paul, where did you grow up?
I grew up in San Francisco.
Oh, really?
Where did you go to high school?
I went to School of the Arts.
Oh, wow. What did you study
there? Which is a public school, and I specialized in creative writing.
Oh, good for you. Over there by Diamond Heights, up by school.
Yeah, on Portola.
Right, exactly. I'm from the city also. Graduated from Lincoln High School.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, my buddy's son went to School of the Arts. He lived over here I live out in Richmond. He lived in Richmond, and the school district wanted to send him to mission. His father said he's not going to mission, and so he ended up going. When did you graduate, if I may ask?
2005.
That's from School of the Arts or from Lewis and Clark?
From School of the Arts.
Do you remember a man named Anthony? A very tall man, Anthony.
I remember him. It's
Anthony
okay.
Duchesne. Do you remember a man named Anthony Duchesne there?
I do not. Was he a teacher or a
No,
student?
he was a student there. He might have been there when you were there. Anyway,
My daughter also, excuse me, Paul. My daughter also, she got a master's in creative writing at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics.
Right. And I noticed on your website that you used to live in Boulder.
I did. I lived there for about 6 months.
So what were you doing there?
Living.
But you didn't attend Naropa or anything.
I did not go to Naropa, no. But when I was studying creative writing, I definitely was really interested in that school. They do not have very many scholarships available, unfortunately.
and you don't have cheerleaders there either, Bob says.
No, I would be very surprised if they had any sports teams to cheer for.
Hey, speaking of cheerleaders, you're also a massage therapist. So if you're doing therapy with massage, well, Paul, I think he just decided that's something he could use. But anyway, so explain that. I mean, is that like help people rather than talking therapy? You work on their body to help them resolve things.
I do, and I feel like so much of what we carry is held in our bodies, and sometimes I wonder all of this intellectual epiphanies that we realize. If we go back to carrying our bodies the same way afterwards, I feel like those things cycle back around. So addressing the body for me is part of really having a holistic approach to the healing that wants to happen.
What sort of what therapeutic massage do you do? What kind of massage is it?
I do Hawaiian massage.
Oh, what's that?
Lomi.
What's Hawaiian massage?
Which is beautiful. And another thing I do is I teach parents how to do massage with their babies.
Oh, that's great.
Which I love. It's one of those things where it's like truly just like, ding, like that is good for everybody. It has all of these developmental benefits like increasing circulation and proprioceptive and neurological development and clearing mucus from the lungs. And then it has all of these emotional beauties that come from it. Like it increases
what is Hawaiian
bonding and...
What is Hawaiian massage?
I just think it's like this way that you can invite babies into their bodies, into their world, into your own family in a loving way.
That's pretty cool. But what is Hawaiian massage?
Oh, Hawaiian massage is... it's gorgeous. Actually, in ancient Hawaii, it used to be a rite of passage. So, like when kids were going through puberty or when couples would get married to each other, or when people were transitioning into death, they would actually incorporate body work and energy work as part of those rituals.
So did you study that, or how did you...
I did. I actually met this woman, and she was like, "You must come with me to Hawaii. You will be my student." And I said, "Okay, yes." I said yes, and like some of those magic things that happen when you say yes in life, it opened a whole doorway.
So you went to Hawaii?
Yeah, I went to Hawaii, and we studied with the aunties and uncles out there and learned all of this beautiful stuff about the spirituality and the Hawaiian cosmology and the connection to the elements.
So how does Hawaiian massage differ from other massage?
It's really luscious. The same way the island of Hawaii is. It's like you do all these long flowing strokes, you use coconut oil.
Is the hula involved? Never mind.
What's that?
I said, is the hula involved? It's just a bad joke.
It's appropriate though, because lomi is actually considered a dance. It's considered a hula between you and the person who's on your table.
So do you wear an aloha shirt while you're doing it?
Yeah, I do often wear a sarong.
So do you say bra now after you've been to Hawaii? Bro instead of brother. Bro.
Brother.
Brother.
Something like brother man.
Brother.
Brother, sister.
Yeah, right.
Little sister.
Yeah.
I do often feel the desire to say aloha a lot.
Yes, I love Hawaii. I don't know if any of our listeners haven't been there. Go there. It is a magical place, and that soft rain, warm rain is quite invigorating.
Hey, Maraya, you're also a writer / performer. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do perform. I perform on my show, the Maraya Karena show. I'm singing a little bit now. I'm coming back to writing in a different way.
Did you go to clubs or?
What's that?
Do you go to any clubs to perform? Like like a comedian.
Not yet. I do some theater, but it's more ritual theater.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Like right now there's a festival happening in Oregon called Beloved, and it's this really beautiful festival with musicians from all over the world and workshops with really amazing teachers. And there's this one area called the Secret Library down by the river, and it's going to be me and a bunch of other people who are in this sort of theater collective that are going to be doing spontaneous ritual theater for people. So they come and we sort of kind of talk to them about where they're at, and then in that moment create an archetypal theatrical ritual that involves them and their process and where they're at.
What kind of rituals?
Well, I think it's appropriate for wherever the person is at the moment. So we did one before where there was this woman who was really stepping into her power as a teacher. And so we got to do this whole performance with her where she got to be the teacher and we got to be her students and she was able to teach us different things. Or there's this man that was sort of healing his relationship with his mother. And so we enacted something for him where he got to be the father to his mother and then the son of his mother and stuff like that.
So regarding income, is it like the massage therapy? Is that how you manage to support yourself? Or?
That is, yeah. I do massage therapy and I teach infant massage and I do editing.
Wait, did you say instant massage?
Who are writing
massage,
books.
right.
And I do something called developmental editing. So it's not so much copy editing, but it's more working with people to refine their creative vision.
It sounds like you have a really great life. I envy you.
Oh, well, I'll take that as a compliment. What do you do for money?
I do security in a high rise.
And then you moonlight as a stand-up comedian radio host.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you also do massage too, don't you, Bob?
Yeah.
Some of the
only on
CEOs,
only on select females. But anyway, Paul drove Muni for 33 years.
Oh wow!
He's retired.
And the cable cars. Yes, I'm retired from. Born and raised in the city.
I know, and a cable car driver to boot.
Operator, grip person.
Well, you did both. You were conductor too, right?
Right. Yes, indeed. And native sons are far, and daughters are few and far between. You just don't. A lot of it's just left.
They are. You know, I grew up in the Mission District.
Oh God.
Which has been completely ransacked. I think the entire history of my growing up there has just been one of continued gentrification. And that's another thing about not embracing technology full on, is I feel like San Francisco has kind of become this playground for, young people making six figures deep in consumer culture.
So you're well aware. You're well aware of how the techies have driven the housing market sky high.
Yeah, it's just absurd.
It was inevitable.
Something really sad happens to culture when all the people that live in a place are needing a certain income bracket.
Where in the Mission? Where in the Mission were you?
I was at 25th between York and Hampshire.
Oh, I know exactly where that is. Yes. I used to drive the 14 Mission. I might have taken you to school.
Really? Yeah. That's so funny. I know my mom, who still lives on 25th Street, was a Muni driver for 6 days, and then she realized it freaked her out too much, and she couldn't do it. So I have a lot of respect for operators of big machinery.
Well, when I first started, there were very few women. Now there's, of course, many, many women operators. The Mission, I drove it early in the morning, and most of the people there just want to go from one place to the other. A lot of people going to work. It was great. It's just later on in the afternoon you get some people that are problem people, and that's all over San Francisco, but it'd be concentrated in certain areas, and then you had the gang activity, and it just ruined it for everyone. The lowriders. The lowriders were all right, but believe it or not, when the lowriders were on Mission, instead of rerouting the lowriders, they rerouted the buses.
Really? I heard a legend that there was something where you couldn't make turns on Mission Street because of the lowriders.
Yes. I mean, and my opinion is cultural expression ends when you're really infringing on everybody else's rights, And I see no reason why the lowriders couldn't have gone down South Van Ness.
Yeah.
Instead of down Mission Street on Friday night when the people are trying to get to work, get home from work. And as you well know, the 14 Mission is very, very busy line.
It is.
Yeah.
Hey, Maraya, after your mom, what was her name, Priscilla, decided not to drive for Muni, what did she do next?
Terry is her name.
Terry,
she became an ESL teacher, teaching English as a second language to adults.
Sounds much better.
Are you Latin descent?
I am not.
Mm-hmm. The name sounds like it could be.
Is Karena like Greek or?
No, it's
Italian?
It's not. My family is actually Jewish, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What part of Europe did they come from?
From Russia.
Oh,
okay.
That's the main. Seems like the main country for.
Yeah, Eastern Europe. A lot come from Eastern Europe and some all around the Mediterranean.
And yes, indeed. As you well know, Jewish culture, Jewish politicians were very, very prominent in San Francisco history.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
And one thing I've noticed about many...
I did not know that, Paul.
You didn't know that?
Could you elaborate on that?
Well...
Sutro was Jewish.
Strauss. Yeah, many wealthy people settled here and were very successful. One thing I noticed...
Levi Strauss.
Yeah. One thing people blame the techies, quote unquote, for a lot of things, and I think some of what was happening in San Francisco was inevitable. I think they accelerated it, obviously. It's all about money. That's absolutely the way it is. And the problem with San Francisco, I'm sure you'll agree from being raised here, is it's just so small. There's nowhere to go. You can't go anywhere. You can't go northwest or east. You have to go south, and south, the only way you can go is up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is why you have so many skyscrapers being built.
Yeah, and you probably remember when there was a big push against skyscrapers.
A Manhattanization of San Francisco.
And that was in 1968, I believe it was Forbes magazine, had a front page article. 1968, the Manhattanization of San Francisco. There seems to be a lot of personal pronouns here today. Not just with, quote, techies, unquote. Just people generally seem to have what they're doing is more important than what you're doing. And it just seems like it's a morass what we're in, of aggressive personal behavior.
Hey, Maraya, what made you move from San Francisco to Portland?
I went to school here for college, and I was just really impressed with the culture. I think... I went back to San Francisco for a while, and it just seemed so deep in consumer culture.
Oh, it is.
And one thing that I really appreciate here is it's a real creator culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an understanding here. It's like everyone you meet is growing their garden and, finding ways to contribute creatively and to really build community.
And you have plenty of rain
a
up
strong
there.
value system here about that.
You don't have to worry about a drought.
Yeah,
in Oregon.
and I really appreciate that.
Well, when you came back to San Francisco, did people believe you when you told them you were from San Francisco? I get that all the time. They say,
Me too.
Where are you originally from? I'm saying, I'm originally from San Francisco. And then they would say it again. I'd say, well, where do you want me to be from? Let's just make it that. I think one thing that Portland has, they're just not nearly as dense as we are. In San Francisco.
Sure.
And that gives them a certain amount of liberty to develop different ways of living. Here, we're just on top of each other. It's 800,000. I'm sure there's more than that here, and 49 square miles. But when I grew up here, and I'm much older than you, I graduated from high school in '66. It just didn't seem to be as crowded, and of course, hindsight is always suspect. It didn't seem to be as fast. It didn't seem to be as crowded, and it seemed like much more of a working class city, which we know is not that now. And it seems material possessions and buying big condos seems to be the goal, rather than just having a happy, reasonable life.
Yeah, and I think the density is part of that. I also think when you got to make rent, and your rent is in the thousands range, like your entire life is dedicated to either working to make that money or blowing off steam from what you have to do to make that money.
I remember when I started in the Muni, an old timer said, "Remember, Paul, nobody put an armored car in a funeral procession." And I really believe that. Work is supposed to be something you do to live, and not supposed to live to work. And unfortunately, a lot of people have to live to work. And if it wasn't for rent control, I'd be out of this city. I know that. I have a home in California, but it's in Southern California. But I would be out of here. And if I could afford to pay the rent here, I refuse to pay that rent here. I refuse to pay $1,800 for a studio. I don't care. I won't do it. To me, it's my home. But America's a big country. There's a lot of other places to go. That's the way I look at it. And Portland would be one of the places. It would be one of the places I would decide to live.
How much do you pay for your art studio, Paul?
$450 a month.
Okay.
I'm really lucky. I have an art studio here, and I'm living under rent control, and I have a city pension and Social Security. As far as I'm concerned, I'm blessed. I have plenty of time to do research for this show and to talk to people like you on the air and to learn something. So it's to me, I'm very lucky, Maraya. I really appreciate the energy you've shared with us. We learn something all the time on this show.
Well,
it sounds like you guys have a really eclectic mix of people coming in and talking.
Oh, we most definitely. And a lot of the people that we have guests on the show also have shows here at FCC Free Radio because, they're not too scared to be on the radio.
Right. Do you have a website?
Yeah. Oh, and Maraya's name is spelled a little, not like Maraya Carey, but Maraya. And Karena is Karena. Maraya Karena.
Well, that's the Russian spelling, seems like.
Yeah, and you can check me out on my website, marayakarena.com, or on YouTube. You can just search Maraya Karena.
Hey, where did you learn how to do infant massage, Maraya?
In Colorado.
Boulder.
Yeah, I was actually studying in a massage in a tiny town called Crestone, Colorado. And we saw this movie called Cellular Echoes about the ways that our bodies and our cells imprint memory. And there's just this scene of a woman doing infant massage. And it was, again, just that moment of like, wow, like this is so good for everybody. And I think in this day and age, that's hard to find things that seem so purely beneficial for everyone involved.
So how do infants react to infant massage?
Oh, very well. Very well, especially if you incorporate it into a routine. One of the first and most important thing of infant massage is asking permission. So you get the parents to get oil on their hands, and they show their oily hands to the babies, and they say, "Is it okay for me to give you a massage? Do you feel like a massage right now?" And after a while, the babies know it's coming, and they'll actually grab the parents' hands and put them on their body.
I love it.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Yeah, and what I've heard is if you start massage when they're babies, then even when they're toddlers and when they're growing up and when they're older, they'll still respond well to massage and still ask for massage and be more
open,
aware and embodied and receptive to touch
so
in
you
general.
can keep all through their childhood. You can keep it up through their childhood.
Yeah, through their childhood. And I just wonder, it's like, who would we be if we got a warm bath and a massage every night? You know?
We like to put
If
one
we
in
have
the
a
studio.
whole generation of babies that are getting a warm bath and a massage every night,
I think I'd become an infant.
I think the future looks really bright.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bob massages me once in a while to calm me down when I get riled up about something.
Yeah, I rub his I rub his bald head. But I'm not one to talk.
There's an artist, famous artist, and unfortunately I forgot his name, but he said it took his whole career to paint like a child.
Oh yeah.
You know and babies are just completely honest about the way they feel and the way they react. You know, there's no artifice there. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about it. You really know that it's benefiting the child just by the expression on the child's face.
Yeah.
Well, if I got a massage and a warm bath every night, I would revert to it, infanthood, I think.
Well, we have a lot of massage places in San Francisco. Unfortunately, I think they're a little nefarious in their, you know, and what they're.
Well, yes, that's a whole different kind of massage.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you probably haven't been there, noticed it, but there's all kinds of these. They call them massage parlors in San Francisco. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, in my neighborhood, I live in the Richmond. There's about 3 or 4 within the neighborhood, within a few blocks. It's incredible. All over the Sunset District. You know.
Have you partaken of any of those, Paul?
Bob. In the old days, remember, you went to get a massage because you were stiff. Now you go to get stiff. It's a big difference. Anyway, no, I don't partake in that because it's just
beneath. It's expensive, isn't it?
I don't know, Bob. How would I know if I don't go there?
You know a lot, Paul.
I've been around. Anyway, do you ever go to Powell's bookstore up there?
I do. I love Powell's.
It's great, isn't it?
It's wonderful. I also really love the library.
Oh, yes.
I would say the library is one of the you know what? I'm even going to say I think it's the only government institution that I believe is running the way it should.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think it's amazing. Like, you can get any movie, book, CD you want right there for free.
It's the history of the world at your fingertips, and that is
absolutely
absolutely priceless. And we have Green Apple Bookstore here in San Francisco, out in the Richmond district where I live. And
I love Green Apple books.
It's in the same spirit as Powell's, I believe, and they're doing quite well, believe it or not. There was just an article in today's paper, I think the Bay Guardian, one of those, about the book business, and some people are actually making it in the book business. So you can do it. You just have to have a lot of marketing and have a lot of varieties. But I have never got the experience from a Kindle that I have actually holding a book in my hand.
Yeah, I love books.
And it's actually a tactile experience too, I believe.
It is. It is. It's that feeling of bringing the body back into it, of like smelling the book, of touching the pages.
Well, you know what Groucho Marx said? He said that outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read.
It's too dark to read.
And you know what? I would say that one of the things that I learned through cyborg anthropology is that the book itself is a technology. Normally we think, the technology is the Kindle, but actually so is the book.
Absolutely.
And actually so is the advent of written language. The alphabet is a technology.
That's right. And Gutenberg Press. Many years ago, the old library, before it was rebuilt, they used to have an area called the Stacks. And I used to go through there, and I used to look at some really old books and try to find a book that was the longest in terms, since it was checked out. And I'd find books that hadn't been checked out in 50 years, still sitting up there. And I loved it. The fact that those books were just sitting there, and nobody checked them out in all those years.
I remember the main stairway in the old main library that was indented from all the people walking up and down over the years.
I loved it.
Hey, there's a really cool book. I don't know if you've heard of it, Maraya. It's called Meanwhile in San Francisco.
Oh, yes, it's very good.
No, I haven't.
This lady who's an artist, she illustrated it, and she covers all these different aspects of San Francisco, what a Muni driver does before he starts driving. And she has a good quote in there that the Muni drivers, they get paid $1 to drive and $29 to deal with people.
Yeah.
a
Do
little
you
bit
think
more.
that's accurate?
Yeah.
No, but
It's not accurate, Paul?
no, you get paid to be safe, but the people just happen to be something that you're there. I mean, you get paid whether there's anybody on the bus or not.
No, but her point was the driving's easy. The hard part is dealing with people.
Actually, most people just want to go from point A to point B. It's that 10% that you see a lot of 10% of the people in anywhere would have problems in a phone booth by themselves. They'd have people who have problems on a bus or anything else, or in a bank or in a supermarket or in a holistic food store. That's just another place in life that they have problems. Their problems aren't the store; their problems are themselves.
Well, yeah. You're talking about people in San Francisco who have mental problems. I mean, that's I think the majority of people who are homeless have definitely mental problems and addictions, which are also related to
but
that.
I think you would agree, Maraya, that diet and physical therapy.
Massages.
Positive environments can mitigate some of these problems.
We need to get the
Absolutely.
homeless
Yeah.
into those warm baths and massage is at night.
Yeah.
I'm sure you look forward to massaging a homeless person
Well,
maybe after he's been in a bath and a shower, and then you could work on him.
Yeah. I think, what if we took that approach and applied it to prisons or to
Oh, yeah.
rehabilitation centers?
Yeah, I think
Or
I
to
read
war
about,
zones,
about them
you
learning.
know?
I think I read about a program where they learn meditation.
yeah, there are.
Yeah. The Dhamma Brothers is actually this beautiful documentary about people that go and teach a meditation technique called Vipassana in prison.
Oh.
That even though you're in a cell, your consciousness can be free.
I think people rise to the expectations we set for them, generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, up or down.
And if it's a low threshold, then people respond accordingly.
Hey, Maraya, thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Once again, can you say quickly how people would get a hold of you and see what work you're doing? See about what work.
Sure. So I am Maraya Karena, MarayakaRena, and you can check me out, MarayaKarena.com, Maraya Karena at Gmail if you want to write to me, and on YouTube, Maraya Karena.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your
Absolutely.
energy.
Thank you, guys.
And please feel free to call in anytime, please.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, for sure, send me the link to the show into your archives so I can listen to some of your other guests and comedy and all that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, FCC Free Radio, the Bob Benson Show, not hard to find.
Listen live.
All right.
Shalom.
I will.
Shalom.
I'll check it out.
We're on podcast.
Shalom.
Shalom, salam.
So, okay. So, malamin
Peace
salamat.
to all.
Thank you, Maraya.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank you, guys.
Ciao. That was Maraya Karena.
Cyborg anthropologist, massage therapist, permaculturist, and writer-performer.
Charming.
From Portland, Oregon.
A very charming, thoughtful woman. I very much appreciated her calling in, folks. And right now, Bob, we have to take a break.
Yes, we do.
So the
Be
station's
back
gonna
after
do-
the hour
Stay tuned on the Bob Benson Beacon.
with Paul Slade and Bob Benson.
Sayonara for now.
Good afternoon. This is the Bob Benson Show with my co-host Paul Slade. Welcome back, and I want to apologize. I think it was Robert Medeiros Sr. who called in an hour ago, and we would be delighted to talk to him and with him if he would please call back. But I had a scheduled guest for the first hour, and we needed, she was calling in from Portland, Oregon, and we needed to have her on the show. But if Robert Medeiros Sr. or even Jr. would like to call in, please call back.
Or anybody from Portland, Maine, for that matter.
There you go. And our J. Austin Graham is filming the show today so that we'll become rich and famous on YouTube.
We're already infamous.
Yes, we're definitely infamous.
We're broadcasting from the
Bowels of San Francisco.
the FCC compound, and regardless of your latitude,
FCC Free Radio
right?
compound.
Regardless of your latitude or longitude, you're more than welcome to call in, and that number would be 415-829-2980, 829-2980. And what's our gift?
And I once again, I want to apologize to Mr. Medeiros for having to cut him off because we did have a scheduled guest who was calling in, and but you're certainly welcome to call back now.
And we also have the Bob Barker talking doll as a gift for our first caller.
The Bob Barker talking doll or dog?
Doll.
Well, he's a big pet enthusiast,
right.
so
well, the dog.
why
That's
not be the talking dog?
That's the dog is an option. The dog's name is Parting Gift. Bob Barker's dog is named Parting Gift.
Oh, okay. A parting gift. So
Yes.
if you want to win Bob Barker's dog named Parting Gift, please call in 415-829-2980. Don't be scared. No one's listening anyway.
Yes. And in fact, the only reason we're listening is we have to. Okay, Bob,
Anyway,
what's
I
next
think-
on our agenda, Bob?
I think we should try to do stupid stuff.
Stupid stuff, one of our favorite
See if
segments.
the applause has gotten dimmer and weaker. I don't know what's going on.
Well, a lot of people have hand fatigue.
Maybe
Okay, Bob.
maybe if I turn up the volume, let's try that again. That's what I would call tepid applause or tepid applause. But
TA.
anyway, we're going to do
TA.
stupid stuff anyway. And this is stuff that I find on the Huffington Post on the internet. Things you didn't know about sex.
Oh, my God. Well, there's not very many of those, but I'll listen anyway.
Sperm is nutritious.
Oh, indeed it is.
At 15 calories per serving,
Mm-hmm.
it has the same amount of protein as the white of a large egg. So if you have a girlfriend who doesn't want to swallow, you can say, hey, it has the same amount of protein as a egg white of a large egg, plus it has all vitamins and minerals too.
Is there any different?
Magnesium, and
It seems like Rainbow Grocery should be promoting this.
maybe they have it in stock.
Is this the 2-cent sugar tax on the soda? Is that going to affect this sales of sperm?
The 2-cent
Soda tax.
Isn't it 2 cents per ounce or something?
There's a
Something
2
something
cents-
crazy.
something
Something really crazy, right? 2 cents per ounce of
if it-
soda. San Francisco strikes once again.
If it is crazy, God knows the Board of Supervisors probably, if they haven't done it, they're on a way to doing it. You know what I feel about them.
Yes, you want to bed down with them.
Yes, indeed.
Have an overnight camping trip with them.
Yes.
So, and another thing that sex is good for, it boosts our immune system.
Oh, my God. Well, I got to get working.
There you go. It releases a bunch of good stuff.
So Hugh Hefner has
That's why he's still alive, man.
because of his immune system and his copulative manner.
Yes, it's copulative matter. I've never quite heard copulative used that way. And get this.
Okay, I'm listening. My ears are pricked.
It makes women more attractive
To whom?
to men.
Well,
Sex makes women's hair shinier and their skin softer. And their cheeks rosier.
Well,
Did you know that, Paul?
I had a pretty good suspicion.
Oh, so
It's kind of so. In other words, when you're getting it on with the mailman, it's like Avon calling. Correct? Or the milkman?
okay. Diet
Okay.
affects the flavor of sperm.
Oh my God.
Meat and fish make it taste buttery,
Meat and fish. Okay.
whereas beer and coffee makes it taste bitter.
Bitter beer and bitter coffee.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. How about something in between? How about Cheerios, for example, or Wheaties?
They did not mention cereal. But
Do we have any women
but
who can call in and
acidic
verify
fruit-
this for us?
Acidic fruit, like cranberries, makes it taste lighter.
Lighter, not tart.
No.
So in other words, if you're a tart, it doesn't mean that it's going to taste tart.
There you go. And did you know
No,
that the clitoris
Clitoris
is
yes.
the only organ that exists purely for pleasure?
That's interesting. Yeah. So when I describe my Mr. Happy, it's a misnomer.
Right, because it also does pee-pee.
Yes, it does. Yes. If there any women want to call in and weigh in on this with your particular experiences on a Jenny Craig diet, let us know.
And Mr. Medeiros, I once again apologize. Please call back. If you don't, we'll try to get you in next week. But our guest was calling in right at 4 o'clock, so we just had to go to her.
I don't know all these things. That's I always learn on the Bob Benson Show.
I know. I'm a fount of knowledge.
A
fount of knowledge.
A plethora of information.
Certainly am. I write jokes for Jeopardy. Jokes? Clues for Jeopardy. Clues
yes.
for Jeopardy. And jokes about Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm. You know, I told you about what my girlfriend said.
What did your girlfriend say, Paul?
Well, after a passionate night of lovemaking, we're sitting around the breakfast table next morning. She looks at me, big blue eyes. She says, "Paul, why can't you be more like Alex Trebek?"
Yes, I do remember you saying that.
How can you answer that?
Well, you're of a similar age.
Yeah, maybe my sperm was tart.
There you go.
It could have been. So I have some stupid stuff, Bob.
So at the breakfast table, she doesn't say, "Wow, I really got a buzz from your protein."
Yes. Well, it could have been when we were in bed. In the height of passion, I yell out my own name.
Hey, Paul, you have some stupid stuff too.
I have some stupid stuff, apart from the rest of the show. Anyway, stupid stuff continues in Orlando, Florida, with a TSA agent. A journalist was questioned by a TSA agent because of his passport. It said he was born in Washington, D.C., and they checked his license, and the TSA agent just wasn't sure where Washington, D.C. was. He thought should have been a foreign country. So the agent,
well, it's not a state.
Yes, but he was very confused, the agent, whether this person was legitimate or not. So maybe little training there, maybe for that TSA agent. Also, Vermont Novelty Toaster Corporation has a product for $75. You can burn a selfie into a slice of toast. 75. It's a collector's item, slice of toast with your selfie burned into it by the Vermont Novelty Toaster Corporation. $75 takes it out the door.
They burn a selfie into the toast.
That's what it says. I only can report what's written, Bob. There was a restaurant owner who had to go to court because he won $1.7 million in a lotto ticket, but the waiter who worked for him wanted part of the action because the waiter kept on pestering him to buy a ticket because the waiter had a dream that the owner would win, and he kept on saying that. So the man had to come up with that money. It's only fair.
How much money?
Oh, yeah, somehow split $1.7 million.
Do you play the lotto, Paul?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because
for fun?
Because I have more of a chance playing than I'm not playing.
I knew a guy who said you have as much chance of winning the big lotto as you do if you don't play.
Well, I don't find that true because I've actually won money.
I'm talking about the big lotto.
Well, very few people win, but scientifically it can be proven not playing, your chances are zero.
And playing, your chances are
close to, but
zero.
Still more than zero. Bob, I've been to junior college. You can't get me on these math questions. Anyway, in a New Mexico county, in a race for judgeship.
New Mexico?
In a county in New Mexico, in a race for judgeship, Democrat Kenneth Howard Jr. won. And he won in a very unique manner. His opponent and he both got 2,879 votes. And so they decided who won on a coin toss. Nothing like good government. And also, Bob, I don't know where this man lives, but Chuck Huey got a very forceful letter from the Selective Service demanding that his great-grandfather registered for the draft or face imprisonment. It turns out that his great-grandfather fought in World War I and was no longer alive. In fact, the Selective Service sent 14,000 notices to men who were born in the 1800s.
Our government at work.
Your government at work. Also, Bob, we sit all day in the show, and I sat for a living. You walk around, but I could have used this. In New York and London, you can get a butt facial to get your butt in prime condition. I guess instead of I guess it'd be a selfie for the butt would be like a buddy selfie.
Who does the butt facial?
It didn't say, but you can get one for $500. That's $250 a cheek. Also, Bob,
we did say this is stupid stuff, right?
Indeed. The police department in Delray Beach, Florida, went to visit I Got Wood LLC, a flooring company. And they were looking for Perry Martin, 55 years of age. Now, they were accusing Perry Martin of breaking into cars, and his crime was recorded on security cameras. The reason they knew where to look for Perry Martin is he had a company logo on his work shirt.
Well, what did he do after he broke into cars?
Well, I don't know, Bob. Maybe he joined the AAA. Steve Dixon has an interesting hobby, Bob.
What hobby is that?
Steve Dixon has collected almost 300 airline vomit bags. He has one from all over.
Are they full?
No, I don't seriously doubt that, Bob. But he has...
that would be very stupid.
Yeah, but he has collects... They call them sick bags. Those little bags.
I think that's a sick collector.
Indeed. Also, Aquarius has Aquarius has an interesting product. They will install a fish tank behind your toilet, up above the toilet, so you can do your business with the fish looking on.
We did say this is stupid stuff.
Right. Oh, here's something I know from personal experience and this came from the owner of the car. My buddy left his keys not on the ignition of his Ford Festiva, in the car door.
Oh.
For 1 week at the SFO. The car is so bad, nobody took it. The keys were sitting there in the car. Nobody took them. Okay, Bob.
What kind of car was it?
Ford Festiva.
Oh,
never God, the car was shocking. Oh, my God. Okay, Bob.
Do they still make Ford Festivas?
No, because the car was shocking. Okay, Bob. In fact, I remember when he went to get a new car, the guy in the dealership says, I don't even know why those cars are made. Bob, it was pretty easy getting a driving test, passed a driving test in Egypt until 1979.
Then what happened?
Well, they made it more difficult. But until 1979, the driving test in Egypt was driving 20 feet forward and driving 20 feet in reverse.
Well, you know why that is? It's because the traffic is so bad in Cairo.
Is that it?
I think so.
I think you probably should know how to go a little bit further than 20 feet. You know what I have, Bob? Something that's been a favorite on our show.
What is that, Paul?
It is a top 10 list.
Whoa! Let me see if I fix the applause.
We usually get a lot of really positive responses. Most of our groupies come here because of the top 10, and also they want to talk to you about your experience as a security guard.
I just realized that my level, because I'm on the side, is way too low, which means that
What is
most of our show, the arrow is not up high enough that my voice is actually being heard.
So
that's why Maraya didn't always hear me, I guess.
So nobody's listening. Nobody could hear what we're saying.
And me, no one could hear
me.
What I was saying.
Well, the important one, me, they can hear them.
No. Me, the important one. Me, the important one. Yeah, you really have to
listen.
You really have to be in front of the mic. Being on the side is just not good enough.
And we could turn the mic.
Maybe
turn the mic, Bob.
Maybe Jay, who's recording us, filming us, can fix that. You can pop up my volume.
Well, he has
somehow.
a script girl here. Maybe.
But if Paul can hear you, you should be good.
Yes. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Maybe you can get your script girl to do it, Jay. Anyway, I have a top 10 pointers, if you will, or top 10 suggestions or observations about men dating and relationships in San Francisco. Oh, the people really like that. I can hear. And folks, our faithful listeners will remember that I do my top 10 based on a David Letterman's top 10, from 10 to 1. So here they go, folks.
Hey, Paul, could you hear me in your headphones?
Yes, I could, Bob.
Okay.
I just don't listen to you. Anyway, here are the...
that's nothing new.
Yes. Here's the top 10 pointers to men dating and carrying on their relationships in San Francisco. Number 10, Bob. To show her you're a rebel, tuck in your shirt on the first date. Number 9. Pretend you're listening to her when what you really want to do is take a selfie. Number 8. You listening, folks? Number 8. Make sure she is a fan when you go back to your place and play ABBA to get her in the mood. Number 7. Get to know her for a while before you suggest you obtain tickets for the Jerry Springer Show. Number 6, let her ask you if you're wearing boxers or briefs. Number 5, folks, she will know your line when you say, quote, really, babe, I didn't know this was a nude beach. Number 4, while on a road trip, safe sex is more than just applying the parking brake. Number 3, just because you're at a French restaurant with all that escargot and all that, that does not mean you can bring up the idea of a ménage à trois. Number 2, be aware of modern jargon. Being a metrosexual does not mean you're trying to pick up women on the Enjuta. And the top pointer, top suggestion, top observation is you're not being pushy and verifying your date's gender. Remember, you are in San Francisco. Those are the top 10, folks.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome, Paul.
You're welcome, Bob.
You're welcome, Paul.
Have a nice day.
I'm trying to make sure my level is up. I should have definitely been in.
How's your blood sugar?
In front of the microphone.
You got to be in front of the mic.
On the,
See, this is
on the side of the microphone.
We're very.
That's not even showing when I'm
well,
on
why
the
don't you
side
move
of the
the
microphone.
mic a little bit, Bob? Will that help?
It's.
I mean, yeah. There you go. That might help you. This is a very technologically intensive show.
This is live radio, folks.
Where all the vagaries, achievements, nadirs, and zeniths of live radio. Okay, Bob, did you watch the All-Star game?
I watched the player introductions, and geez, didn't we talk about this last time?
Yes, we did, but
I was the day before.
It was before. Yeah, that's right. So, what do you think about the Oakland A's? They are quite the amazing team, Bob. Bob,
well, they lost. They lost last night.
I know, in extra innings.
Yes,
but
they are the amazing A's. They are the amazing A's.
Yeah, and the Giants are the less than amazing Giants.
Yes, they. Yeah, but at least they won last night.
Yes, but the Giants are so up and down, and this seems like they're going to be a streaky team. Sometimes they're hitting the ball well, and then sometimes in batting practice, the pitching machine gets a no-hitter. You just can't tell with the Giants. Romo still trying to get his ERA down. George Contos comes in, 2 games, he gets 2 wins. Lincecum comes in last night,
Gets his first save
Gets his
ever.
first save. His ERA is below 4. The pitching staff is solid. We miss Angel Pagan. Scutaro, I don't really know what he's going to produce. And then who do we pick up, Bob?
And then Joe Panic, the other second baseman, sprains his ankle last night.
That's right. And then Brandon Belt gets hit in warm-ups and gets a concussion. Gets a concussion. Who do we just pick up, Bob? Some people say
Dan Ugla.
Dan Ugla.
His batting average
was ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
Was ugly. And there's a reason why Dan Ugla was available. That's the way I see it.
Because Atlanta got rid of him.
What is with our farm system that we can't? Well, we need some Cubans. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is.
Well, the A's have a Cuban.
Well, they have 2, don't they?
Well, they have Cespedes. Who's the other one?
Oh, he's from the Dominican Republic. Well, they all look alike. You can't tell the difference. Anyway, we got to go to Cuba. When I was a child, I used to watch
winter baseball from Cuba on TV.
Cuba. Yeah, that's right. And it was Cienfuegos Elephants for one of the teams. And I think I probably saw Castro.
He was a pitcher.
He was
a crafty pitcher. Didn't have a fastball, but he was known as crafty.
Oh, he's a commie. No wonder.
Well, look what happened.
All commies are crafty. So,
and there's not only baseball, but the front page of the sports section is all about pro football training camps are opening today.
And I am excited. You know, I am a big football fan. I'm getting.
Well, you're not that big, but you are a football fan.
Bob, I was an affirmative action defensive back. You know, I didn't.
Because you're a white guy?
Yeah, I didn't have white man's disease. I was very fast, Bob. Okay. I used to return kicks.
Are you still fast, Paul?
For a man my size and my demeanor and age, I think I have quite a degree of alacrity in my step. Bob, speaking of football, do you know that the uprights have been
they're going to I read
5
about
feet
that.
more.
I read that.
5 feet higher. Yeah. So that's going to be easier for the refs to judge what is. Also, go on.
I was going to mention topics we can talk about is they mentioned 5 different things for both the 49ers and the Oakland Raiders.
I can comment on every one of them.
And well, I'm sure you can. When will Vernon Davis and Alex Boone report?
Oh, Vernon Davis already did.
Oh, he did today.
That's what I understand.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what's up with Alex Boone. You know, the 49er linemen have been getting jobs other places, so maybe this is what he's thinking about. We lost our center.
Yeah, we let Goodwin go.
And it seems to be they seem to like to go to the New Orleans Saints and back and forth. I don't know what Boone knows about the rest of the offensive linemen, what their preparedness is. He knows more than I do. You sign a contract. As far as I'm concerned, you signed a contract. Don't sign that contract if you want to change it. I don't understand that. You know, we have a tacit contract with our fans. We fulfill our obligations. Do we ask for anything more?
We just asked them to call in.
That's all
we ask.
Yes, and do they do it?
Well, but you know, in business, it's fairly common to renegotiate contracts.
Indeed, but you know, maybe.
And let's face it, sports is a business.
Oh, indeed it is, Bob. But, well, okay. So, do you remember Warren Moon? One year I think he was playing for Houston at the time. Went down on the first series of play. Was out the whole year. It was out the whole year. They paid him his contract the whole year.
Oh, it was guaranteed.
Yeah, but you have to do that. I understand.
Well, no, in the past, football was infamous for not having guaranteed contracts because of injury.
I understand that. And it goes back and forth. But these contracts, you look at these players, what they're getting, they're not worth it. The amount of money Dan Ugla's getting in baseball is not worth it. Some of these football...
Well, that was the Braves management's stupidity.
Well, but...
to mention signing B.J. Upton to that outrageous contract.
Yeah, but to get him to sign, you got to give him the long money. And that's just the way it is. I'm pretty excited about football this year, as you probably...
Well, your friend has a ticket for you.
Yes, I'm
at
going.
the 49ers new stadium.
$80 a clip. So I'm not spending a hell of a lot of money down there. Also, you have.
Well, you have to pay the $80, right?
Yeah, but well, I always
Due to the largesse of his mother, right?
Yeah,
she has
but
the personal seat
Well,
licenses.
Bob, what I try to do is just avoid trying to pay it, and then say, "Oh, wait for him to say something." And then when we're back after the game, and I'm starting to be embarrassed, and then say, "Oh, I forgot." Right down there in Levi Stadium, folks, you will not be able to use cash. Everything will be through an electronic debit.
You cannot
That's what
use
I
cash at all?
It's be cash free. That's what I understand. Maybe when you go in to buy a program, maybe, and in the for the concession stands outside of the football stadium, probably. But from what I understand, you will not be able to use cash. Now and we also know that it's long gone, and you've said this before, that ship has sailed about football being for the working class. That's never going to be. It's all about the luxury boxes and the big bucks. And ironically, for the opening of the new stadium, ceremonial opening, none of the 49er greats were invited. So they've turned the page, they're writing a new book, and they just don't want us down there. But I've got contacts, so I will be there with my old 1983 49er cap.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I've got one, and I've actually got one older than that I don't wear. It's got the prospector on it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I've been
that's
a fan
cool.
since 1957. What does it get me?
Well, at least you have your friend whose mother is very generous.
She thinks I'm absolutely charming.
Well, I'm not going to say anything.
Well, she's right.
Okay. So, hey, another topic with the 49ers is Blaine Gabbert going to be an adequate backup?
I think he is.
If Kaepernick gets
I
injured?
liked him at Missouri. Did you know?
Can he move around?
Yeah, he's not as mobile, of course, as Kaepernick. A few quarterbacks are, but he's not the statue.
What about Josh Johnson?
Josh Johnson can move around.
Yeah.
I like Josh Johnson.
Yeah, I wish that they'd kept. What was that other African American quarterback that Seattle picked up?
Yeah, he was rather short.
Yeah,
I forgot his name, but I know the one you're talking about. I think,
and he was great in preseason.
Well, preseason not the original, not the whole year.
Yeah, it's a chance to show you what you can do.
Kaepernick is going to have to make some strides. Still, he's still learning. For a man that's been to 2 Super Bowls, he's still learning.
Kaepernick's only been to
one Super Bowl. Yeah, he's one Super Bowl. He's still learning. Last year I noticed that he was much more likely to pass instead of run the ball.
They were afraid of him getting hurt. But I thought that was such a great game plan in the NFC Championship game. They really surprised Seattle with all the running that Kaepernick did, because he had not been running, and he was so effective running against the Seahawks. That's the one thing that they weren't ready for.
But the NFL learns. Remember that playoff game when he ran away from Green Bay?
Yeah, that was great.
Well, that's Green Bay's secondary.
Yeah, the secondary.
I could run away from them.
The secondary was getting further and further behind Kaepernick. Because Kaepernick is so fast once he gets those long legs moving.
Yes, I'd like to see. Well, the 49ers, first of all, have some backs that were injured last year. A back that was injured last year, a big running back, Lattimore.
Right.
And he's hopefully healthy. I want to see them with a big fullback into the line. Take some of the pressure off Frank Gore. Frank Gore with a 1-2 punch with a big running back, I think is going to make a big difference. I like to see the 49ers throw to the tight end more, and I like to see them do more blitzing. That's just
well, the 49ers,
as an amateur
they
fan.
did draft a big back, Carlos Hyde.
Yes. From Ohio State, if I remember correctly.
He averaged over 7 yards a carry.
Absolutely.
And maybe Vance McDonald will catch a few passes at tight end this year. Take something.
He is still learning. He's still learning. By the way,
well, Vernon Davis could mentor him.
Hopefully, Bob. A lot of 49er players' jerseys have been retired.
Such as
Steve Young, number 8. John Brody, number 12. You remember the John Brody era?
Yes, I do. Dave Parks was all-pro end.
Yeah. Joseph Montana.
Monty Stickles was a tight end.
I remember that. I met him a few times. Joe Montana, which I believe his original name was Montagna.
Yeah, meaning mountain in Italian.
Yes. Number 34, Joe the Jet Perry. Number 37.
What about Billy Wilson?
Well, wait a minute. No, he's not retired. Number 37, Mr. Johnson. Remember him, the cornerback, defensive back?
Jim Johnson. Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson. His brother was Rayford Johnson.
I did not know that.
Okay, I mean, that's when people learn from our show. Number 39.
But what did they learn?
Well, Hugh McElhaney.
Oh, what was his nickname?
Well, that
Wait,
was
I'm thinking of Crazy Legs Hirsch.
Crazy Legs Hirsch. Oh, right.
But
Crazy.
did McElhaney have a? Seems
Probably
like he had a
Mac
nickname.
or
No, I mean because of his running.
White Boy.
High stepping white boy. Yes,
yes.
that was his nickname.
Number 42, Ronnie Lott. Number 70, Charlie Kruger, the defensive lineman. Number 73, offensive lineman, Leo the Lion
Namalini.
That's right. Number 79, Bob St. Clair was absolutely, he was about 6'9". He used to have a liquor
Oh, what about Matt Hazeltine?
he's not on the list, but I was a big Matt Hazeltine.
Oh, yeah. Bob Sinclair, he had a liquor store in Noe Valley.
On 24th Street, I went in there a few times. I'm 5.
Was he still eating raw meat? He was famous for eating raw meat.
I don't think his liquor store was owned for that. But anyway,
but he was known for that.
well, you walk in there, you're looking at his waist when you. Number 80, Mr. Rice, Jerry Rice, and number 87, Dwight Clark, and Lon Simmons, the announcer. He does have a number, but he's in the 49ers Hall of Fame. I used to love Lon Simmons. He was funny. I have his autograph.
He has a great sense of humor. But like in the 70s when the Giants weren't very good, and he was one of the announcers, and I just found his voice so slow and kind of lugubrious, and I got those Langendorf bread commercials. Oh, wow.
I know,
but when they paired him with Bill King, who was the opposite, who
Right.
talked fast, it was
Right.
like a wonderful contrast. I really liked both of them together.
Bill King, the best basketball announcer I ever heard. But I remember one 49er game. Lon Simmons was calling the game. And the 49ers, I believe, were playing the Rams. And the 49ers secondary were called for pass interference. And Lon Simmons says, I can't believe that call. None of those 49er defensive backs went anywhere near the Ram receivers. So I'm looking forward to it, Bob. And, of course, I will get you a program.
I appreciate that.
See, I take
Paul.
care of my co-host.
I still think they're going to be like $20.
I don't think there will be that much.
I'm talking about like a program that's like a magazine.
Well, they're all magazines. You mean I'll get the what do you call it? The annual. I'll buy that also.
Oh, the media.
Yeah, the media kit. Yeah,
thing?
indeed. So, Bob.
Oh wait, we haven't finished with.
I know.
So, go ahead. You got something to say, Paul?
Well, are we finished with sports, or do you want to go on?
No, we're not finished with sports. Or is there something else that tickles your fancy?
Well, I want to say a couple improved teams in the NFL. Tampa Bay, I think, is going to make great improvements. They got rid of Greg Schiano. They've got Lovie Smith in. They scored a lot of points last year.
Lovie Smith's the defensive coach, right?
Yeah, well, he was a head coach at Chicago. I think
but I mean his background is defense.
They got 3 very tall receivers. I think I like them.
Who are their receivers?
They just drafted one really good receiver. And
what about that little guy the 49ers drafted?
Oh, you mean from
Huffington? What's his name?
You mean
from South Carolina?
He's not that.
He's 5'9".
Yeah, okay.
He's a wide receiver. He's 5'9".
Yeah,
That's pretty small.
Well, they also what's his name from Oregon? He's about 5'8".
Well, you're talking about LaMichael James, but he's a running back.
Yeah, he's a running back. Yeah. Also, I think Cleveland's going to do better this year. And
you think Johnny Manziel's going to play?
Yes, but not immediately. And Hoyer's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he really built the following. He was so successful that he broke his knee or something.
Yeah, and I think Houston's cannot be as bad as they were last year.
Well, yeah, they have a new coach, and who's their quarterback now that they got rid of Shaw?
Oh, it's
I think isn't that Yates? He left also.
No, he's still on the roster. I think. I got to rethink who the. Because I'm just slowly getting into football. I'm just looking at some of the teams, and I'll have all that written down in the future so for quick reference. But these players change so much. So those teams, and the Raiders are going to do better. I think they're,
Hey,
they're
if you
building.
know who the rookie from South Carolina, the little receiver that the Niners drafted, call in 415-829-2980. That's 415-829-2980.
And should we ask the women my usual question?
Are you topless?
Please tell us if you are topless.
I'm so glad that you refrained with Maraya today. I'm proud of you, Paul.
I was on my I don't have a good behavior.
Especially since we were talking about massages and everything.
I was on my best behavior. I don't really have a good behavior, but I was on my best behavior. Who was that, Bob?
I have no idea. Who is that?
That's my guest for my show.
Well, tell them to come in if they want. They can come and sit down.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can sit over there.
Whatever.
Oh, Paul's going to invite
His name's Jeremy.
Jay Austin Graham's guest. Jay is not only filming us, but he does a show after us today, Not Safe for Work. And Paul is making Jay's guest comfortable. And
make me comfortable, Bob?
well, I'll let the ladies do that, Paul. So,
Would you explain to our listeners what a fun mudgeon is, please, Bob?
well, Paul, to himself, is the epitome and personification of a fun mudgeon.
But I'm a curmudgeon who enjoys having a good time, who likes having fun while being a curmudgeon. Does that make sense to you, sir? This gentleman here. Yes.
What's your name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Oh, welcome, Jeremy.
Welcome.
Wait a second. I'll turn on the applause for Jeremy.
Let's hear it for Jeremy. So Jeremy is the guest for
Not
Jay
Safe for Work.
Austin Graham. Not. Go on, Bob.
Our current cinematographer.
But not.
Safe for Work.
There you go. Not safe for work. He will be
But
on.
he himself is safe for work. It's just the show is not safe for work.
How about the guest?
We're not sure about the guest.
We'll see. So anyway, he will be on at 6 o'clock Pacific Daylight
Yes,
Time.
a mere matter of minutes.
And the topless women can also call in to talk to Jay, correct?
415-829-2980.
Yes. So, Bob, so anyway, I am a curmudgeon. And by the way,
Furmudgeon?
funmudgeon. And by the way,
You are rather a furmudgeon, though, with your
firmudgeon.
with
By
your,
the way,
with your hirsuteness
a lot of women like this chest hair.
and arm hair and back hair.
You know, some women
and face hair.
they like that men with a lot of testosterone. They like their men mature and virile.
I'm not going to say anything.
You know, I was actually.
Well, you are mature, Paul. Well, sometimes you're mature.
Bob, I told you how old I am.
Well, you don't have to rub it in.
Bob, I'm so old. I was a roadie for Lawrence Welk. Anyway,
And you were a pallbearer at Lincoln's funeral.
yeah, right. That's you can't go. You got to get the jokes. You can't load them on too much, Bob. You got to get your timing down. Anyway,
I thought I was pretty fast with that,
well,
Paul.
I'm 65, and as I said before, Bob, 65 is the new 64.
I can't argue with that.
I get Medicare. I get the
You got
senior
your
discount.
muni pension?
I get my pension. The discount Tuesdays at Ross.
Social Security?
I mean, does it get any better than this? I can go to the old.
Hey,
folks.
well, to quote Jim Harbaugh, does anyone have it better than you, Paul?
Well, I think a lot of people do.
That's
I think
you're supposed to say nobody.
I think that
Nobody.
that's for players that are making millions, But
Or you're just trying to make the team.
Bob, have you ever explained to me if the 99% hates the 1% so much? What's my question? If the 99% supposedly hates the 1%, why does the 1% keep buying lotto tickets? Do they want to be part of the 1%?
Well, you just said the 1% is buying lotto.
No, the
You mean
99% is
the
buying
99%.
99% is buying lotto tickets. The only people buy lotto tickets generally are working class people, students, and people who are hosts on the FCC free radio network.
I gave it up a long time ago. I mean, I kept winning another scratcher. I mean, I did win $50 once, but then all I kept winning was another scratcher.
Hope
Springs eternal.
the flame burns eternal. My idea is that I will hit the lotto maybe not.
And what would you do if you did hit the lotto, Paul?
Well, I go into partnership with John Miller and buy some pretty good new equipment.
That would be heck. You could buy him out and run the station
I'm not
yourself.
buy him out. I don't have John's acumen.
But he could still stay on to run the station.
I'd set J. Austin Graham up in a business, if he chose. See his thumbs up from J. Austin Graham, who's a very talented
what
man.
kind of business would you want to be set up in, Jay?
I do like making videos.
There you go. So
he could have his own film production company.
He'll be on the red carpet.
There you go.
I think we should have a red carpet here at. We should have our own version of some type of things like the Grammys or like. Well, I mean, we have to come up with. We can call them the Johnnies. The best show. The best show on FCC for the Johnnies, named after John Miller.
Right, there you go, JM.
Maybe
and we need a duck that comes down from the ceiling when you say the secret word.
Oh, well, see, now these two gentlemen don't remember.
Hey, that show was syndicated.
Remember the famous.
You bet your life.
Remember the famous.
You bet your life.
Remember the famous woman on there that had all the kids?
Yeah, well, I like my cigar, but I take it out once in a while.
Explain it to them. Maybe our fans.
Yeah, okay. Well, Groucho Marx had a game show called You Bet Your Life,
There you go.
and he would interview couples, and one couple had like 16 kids, and Groucho said, well, I like my cigar, but I take it out once in a while.
No, he asked, excuse me. He asked her, I think she had about 7 or 8. But anyway, he asked her, why do you have so many kids? And she said, my husband and I love each other. Then he said, I love my cigar, but I take it out of my mouth once in a while.
Thank you, Paul.
Now, remember when Johnny Carson had the little kid star on the show?
No. I remember when Ed Ames threw the
hit him in
the hatchet at the human outline. And my brother and I were watching that night. That was hilarious.
Well, Johnny Carson had this little kid, and he was doing these coin tricks. And so he's sleight of hand with the coin. And so the little kid asked Johnny, well, how do you really make the coin disappear? And Johnny Carson looked over at him very seriously. He said, get married.
Yes, Johnny was married like 4 times or something, I think.
Yeah, I have a good buddy who's unfortunately passed on now, but maybe this is why. But he was married 4 times. He had kids from 3 different children.
He had kids from 3 different children?
I mean, kids from 3 different mothers. And I said, man, you should put your divorce lawyer on speed dial. I mean, the guy couldn't go. Immediately he got divorced. I mean, immediately after he got divorced, he got married again.
Well, Elizabeth Taylor, apparently she was very virtuous, and she was married 7 times, and that's because she would not sleep with a man unless she was married to.
That's why I think more people should have bunk beds. I think that's the way to go. It would cut down the divorce rate. Speaking of that, we're talking about football. Do you know if the more gay players...
Might cut down on the marriage rate, too.
More gay players in the NFL, there won't be as many paternity suits. Right? And just think, there'd be more leather on the uniforms.
What was the name of that player with Seattle? Sean Kemp. How many kids with how many different women?
Good God! I mean, gee, that was unbelievable.
And he got around.
Remarkable fecundity. Oh, that's remember the
not to mention the women.
Remember the Portland Trailblazers? They were in so much trouble they called them the Jailblazers.
Oh yeah,
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of blazing the trail, ever been to a roller derby match?
I used to watch Charlie O'Connell.
Joni Weston.
Joni Weston. They were back in Wisconsin. They had those on Saturdays. Roller derby. Wisconsin.
I hear people say Wisconsin, like Minnesota, or as my friends say, Minnesota. The people don't have a.
Sometimes I would like to bury you in a snowbank.
Because of my dark, hairy chest, people will be able to see me through the snow, Bob.
No, it's not dark. They would you would be invisible with your white hairy chest.
And I'll just make a snow cave. Anyway, it is Wisconsin. That's what.
No, it's Wisconsin.
Well, maybe you say it, but I hear people say Wisconsin.
Well, they don't know what they're saying.
I don't say California. I say California.
I say Wisconsin.
You still say it like a C-A-H-N, Wisconsin. You don't say Wisconsin. You say Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Well, maybe you don't come from the real nasal part of Wisconsin. Do you? By the way, do you think Frisco is acceptable for San Francisco?
Yeah, was it Herb Cain that started that?
Yeah, he's from Sacramento.
The Sacramento Kid.
Yeah, so my ancestors said Frisco, so I figure it's okay.
Well, you're a native, so if you want to say it, go ahead.
I am. I remember my...
we don't know a native what, but...
Well, one time I said Valencia, and a woman said I thought it was Valencia. I said, well, my mother lived here for 75 years, and she said Valencia. I thought it was just a colloquial pronunciation.
And what did she say?
I don't know. She walked away, so I didn't say anything. I think she was chagrined. No, she was. I say it in a very nice way. I didn't say you lousy bitch. Why did you tell me how to...
And on that note, please stay tuned for J. Austin Graham and his special guest, Jeremy, on his show, Not Safe for Work.
In studio, 1A, and that number would be 415-829-2980. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.
And yeah, I would like to thank, special thanks to Maraya Karena for calling in during the first hour. And hopefully next week we'll get Robert Madero Sr. or Jr. to call in.
And more topless women to call in.
There you go. This has been the Bob Benson Show with my co-host Paul Slade, a.k.a. Buster DeSoto. Same bad channel, same bad time next week.
Sayonara, babies.